I'm done wasting my life with a broke dreamer, Ethan. Daniel can give me the stability you never could." Those were the last words Amanda Cole whispered to her husband before dragging her suitcase out of their apartment and into the arms of their landlord. She had no idea that the quiet man she abandoned already held the deed to the very building she now flaunted from. What happened next will make you question everything you think you know about love, loyalty, and betrayal. Viewers, what would you do if the person you sacrificed for mocked you as poor, only to discover you owned everything they left you for? Amanda Cole leaned against the peeling wall of the apartment, her arms folded tight across her chest. The once white paint had long since yellowed, the air smelled faintly of mildew, and the silence between her and her husband had grown louder than the city noise outside. Her voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Ethan, I can't keep living like this. I need stability. Daniel, the landlord, can give me what you never could." Her words were sharp, almost rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Ethan Reed froze where he stood, his hands wrapped around a battered cardboard box filled with their belongings, books, mismatched mugs, a broken alarm clock. He set it gently on the floor as though dropping it might shatter something more fragile than ceramic. Outside the door, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. A knock followed, firm, confident. When Ethan opened the door, Daniel Brooks, the landlord, leaned against the frame in his tailored navy suit. A smile tugged at his lips, smug and effortless. "Well," Daniel drawled, glancing at Amanda before shifting his gaze back to Ethan, "rent's overdue again. I'm afraid I can't extend it any longer. You'll have to be out by tonight." Amanda's lips parted, but she didn't argue. Instead, she let her eyes linger on Daniel's Rolex, on the way his cologne followed him like wealth itself. She nodded almost eagerly. Ethan said nothing. He bent down, picked up the box, and carried it out into the hallway. Amanda followed, dragging a suitcase, but she paused in the doorway. She lowered her voice so only Ethan could hear. "I'm moving in with Daniel. I won't let you drag me down anymore." Ethan turned, his expression unreadable. His eyes lingered on her for just a moment, soft, pained, but strangely calm. Then he looked away, carrying the box down the stairs. Amanda blinked, unsettled. No anger? No pleading? No fight? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Daniel. "Dinner tonight. Just the two of us." Amanda's chest tightened, not with guilt, but with excitement. Behind her, Ethan disappeared out the building's front doors without a word. Amanda smirks as she checks her reflection in the cracked hallway mirror, imagining herself on Daniel's arm. But downstairs, Ethan walks silently toward a waiting black sedan, where a man in a suit holds open the back door and hands him a folder. Amanda dragged her suitcase up the polished marble steps of Daniel Brooks' condo, her heels clicking against the surface like a victory march. For the first time in years, she didn't have to dodge roaches on the stairwell or worry about rent notices pinned to her door. The building smelled of lavender polish and money. Daniel welcomed her with open arms, a glass of wine already waiting on the counter. He kissed her cheek lightly, his cologne stronger here, almost overwhelming. "You made the right choice, Amanda," he said smoothly, guiding her inside. "A woman like you deserves more than peeling paint and broken promises." Amanda laughed, a little too quickly, but the sound fed her ego. She placed her suitcase near the leather sofa and looked around. Crystal vases, abstract art, a balcony overlooking the skyline. It was everything she thought she wanted. But as she wandered through the condo, her mind flickered back to Ethan. The way he hadn't argued, hadn't begged, hadn't even asked why. Her pride wanted to see his pain, but his silence haunted her. Meanwhile, Ethan sat quietly in a coffee shop across town, hands folded over the same folder his lawyer had handed him outside the building. The folder bore the name of his late father's company, Reed Holdings LLC. The lawyer leaned forward. "You sure you want to keep quiet this long? Amanda doesn't know the truth, and Daniel, he's taking advantage of her illusions." Ethan closed the folder gently, his jaw tightening. "My father taught me one thing. Never reveal wealth to someone who hasn't proven love in poverty." She made her choice. "Now I'll make mine." Back at the condo, Amanda toasted Daniel with her wine glass. She leaned closer, letting her hand linger on his wrist. "So tell me," she asked, half flirt, half curious, "what's it like being the landlord? Owning so much?" Daniel smirked, pleased with the illusion. "It has its perks. Tenants depend on you. They respect you." Amanda's eyes glittered. This was the stability she craved, the status she dreamed of. Yet when Daniel turned away to take a phone call, Amanda wandered onto the balcony. Below, the city buzzed, neon signs, car horns, laughter from nearby restaurants. For a moment, she pictured Ethan walking those streets with his quiet steps, carrying his boxes alone. A pang of guilt hit her chest. She crushed it instantly. No, she whispered to herself, gripping the railing. He had nothing. Daniel has everything. Amanda returned inside to find Daniel laughing loudly on the phone, promising someone a meeting with the board tomorrow. His words dripped with importance, but when Amanda asked who he was speaking to, Daniel's smile faltered. Just business, he said, changing the subject. Amanda didn't push further, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Amanda stood before the gilded mirror in Daniel's condo, smoothing the sleek dress he had bought her that afternoon. A crimson silk that shimmered under the warm lights, it was unlike anything she'd ever worn during her years with Ethan. No thrift stores, no fading hems. This was new. This was luxury. She smiled at her reflection, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Ready to turn some heads? Daniel asked, leaning against the doorway, his tailored blazer fitting like a glove. He looked every bit the man Amanda believed she deserved. More than ready, she replied, linking her arm through his. That evening, Daniel brought Amanda to a rooftop lounge downtown. The kind of place where glasses of champagne cost more than Ethan's entire grocery budget for a week. Jazz music floated through the air, mingling with laughter and the clinking of crystal. Amanda loved every second of it. She relished the way women glanced at her dress, the way men's eyes lingered before realizing she was on Daniel's arm. At the table, Amanda raised her glass, her voice carrying just enough for nearby guests to hear. It feels so good to finally be with a man who can provide. I'm done wasting my life with a broke dreamer. Laughter bubbled around her. Daniel smirked, satisfied as if her words crowned him king. But at the far end of the lounge, half hidden in the dim light, Ethan sat at a small table. His plain shirt and worn jeans didn't belong here, but no one noticed him, except Amanda for the briefest second. Her breath caught. Ethan was sipping water, calm as ever, his gaze not on her but on the skyline beyond the glass wall. A leather folder rested by his hand, the corner of a legal document peeking out. Amanda's chest tightened. What was he doing here? Why didn't he look broken? She turned back quickly, forcing a laugh at one of Daniel's jokes, but her mind kept drifting toward the shadowy figure across the room. Later that night, Amanda excused herself to the restroom. On her way, she passed Ethan's table. She slowed just enough to mutter, "Pathetic. Can't you at least have the decency to disappear? This isn't your world." Ethan didn't look at her. He simply folded the folder closed, slid it into a leather briefcase and replied softly, "You're right, Amanda. It isn't. But it will be." Amanda froze mid-step, her pulse racing. She glanced back, but Ethan had already turned away, paying his bill. Amanda returned to the table, unsettled. Daniel noticed her silence. "What's wrong?" he asked. She forced a smile. "Nothing. Just thinking." But in her mind, Ethan's words replayed, "It will be." The next morning, Amanda strolled through the building lobby on Daniel's arm. Her heels clicked confidently against the polished marble floor, her silk blouse flowing like she was born into wealth. Tenants who once shared whispers of sympathy when she lived upstairs now turned their heads in envy. She basked in it. Daniel, meanwhile, soaked in the attention like fuel. He puffed his chest out, his hand firm on Amanda's waist, his smile radiating power he didn't fully have. Near the elevator, Mrs. Henderson, an elderly tenant, approached with her grocery bag struggling in her arms. She looked at Daniel with hopeful eyes. "Mr. Brooks, could you please send maintenance to fix the radiator? It hasn't worked in weeks. My grandson." Daniel waved her off with a dismissive smile. "Not now, Mrs. Henderson. I'm busy. File a request." Amanda laughed lightly, tugging him away, but her smile faltered when she caught sight of Ethan walking in through the front doors. He wasn't carrying boxes this time. He wasn't slouched or defeated. He wore a clean, pressed shirt and carried a black briefcase. The doorman, who had never so much as nodded at Ethan before, held the door open with unusual respect. Amanda's pulse jumped. Later that day, Ethan sat across from his lawyer in a quiet office, signing papers with calm precision. "Once this transfer is complete," the lawyer explained, "Daniel will no longer have legal authority to manage the building. He's already on thin ice with the tenants. One wrong move and you'll have the board's full support to remove him." Ethan nodded. "Don't notify him yet. I want him and Amanda to show their true colors first." Back at Daniel's condo, Amanda reclined on the sofa, swirling wine in her glass. She studied Daniel carefully as he bragged about his supposed meeting with the board. "What's the board like?" she asked casually. "Do they respect you?" Daniel hesitated, then forced a grin. Of course they do. They listen to me. I'm the landlord. I'm the one in control. Amanda smiled faintly, but something about his tone pricked at her. It didn't sound like confidence. It sounded like bluff. Her phone buzzed. A text from a neighbor. Saw Ethan in the lobby today. Looked different. Important. Do you know what he's up to? Amanda's stomach twisted. She deleted the message quickly before Daniel could see it. That night, Amanda dreamed she was climbing the stairs of the old apartment. At the top, she saw Ethan standing in a doorway holding a ring of keys. His eyes met hers, calm but unyielding, and behind him the entire building seemed to glow. She woke in a cold sweat, glancing at Daniel asleep beside her. Saturday afternoon, the neighborhood buzzed with life. The corner cafe near the building overflowed with tenants escaping their cramped apartments for coffee and sunlight. Amanda strolled in with Daniel, her hand hooked proudly through his arm. She spotted Ethan at a back table. He wasn't hiding, just quietly sipping black coffee while reading through documents tucked neatly into a leather folder. Across from him sat a man in a suit. The two spoke in low tones, serious but steady. Amanda smirked. She raised her voice just enough for the room to hear. Well, look who it is, she said, sauntering over with Daniel in tow. Still playing house with paperwork you can't afford, Ethan? Or are you pretending to be important again? A few heads turned. The sting in her words made Daniel chuckle under his breath. Ethan closed the folder slowly, set his cup down, and looked up at her. His expression was calm, even gentle. Amanda, he said softly, be careful who you laugh at in public. One day you may regret it. Her laughter faltered for just a beat before she shook it off, tossing her hair back. Spoken like a man who's lost everything. Daniel tightened his arm around her waist, smug and triumphant. They turned to leave. At their table, Ethan's lawyer leaned closer. You handled that with dignity. But we're nearly there. Daniel is careless, and Amanda's pride is becoming your greatest ally. Once the tenants see the shift in power, there'll be no sympathy left for either of them. Ethan nodded. His gaze lingered on Amanda through the cafe window as she strutted down the street, head held high. She believes this is her rise, he murmured. But it's only the climb before the fall. That evening, Amanda hosted a small gathering in Daniel's condo. She filled the room with neighbors, eager to flaunt her new life. Wine flowed, laughter echoed, and Amanda stood tall in the center like a queen presenting her court. She clinked her glass for attention. I just want to say how grateful I am, she announced loudly, her smile bright, to finally live the life I deserve. With a man who can provide. Who has power. Who owns this city block. Applause followed. Daniel smirked, sipping his drink. But one of the neighbors, the elderly Mrs. Henderson, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She whispered to the woman beside her. Strange. Didn't I see Ethan meeting with men in suits earlier? He looked more like an owner than a tenant. Amanda heard it. Her hand tightened around her glass until her knuckles whitened. That night, as Amanda cleared the glasses, she found a business card slipped into her purse. No note, just a name embossed in gold. Thomas Grant, attorney at law. She froze. The same lawyer she'd seen with Ethan at the cafe. Amanda couldn't sleep. The gold embossed card lay on her nightstand, gleaming under the city lights that spilled through the blinds. She turned it over in her hand again and again until finally she snapped. She slipped out of bed quietly, leaving Daniel snoring in the other room, and marched down the block toward the all-night diner she knew Ethan frequented. Sure enough, he was there. Same booth, same black coffee, same maddening calm. The briefcase rested by his leg. Amanda slid into the booth opposite him, her voice sharp but hushed. Why is your lawyer leaving me his card? What game are you playing, Ethan? Ethan didn't flinch. He stirred his coffee slowly, eyes never leaving hers. Maybe it's not a game, Amanda. Maybe it's just the truth finding its way to you. She leaned forward, her nails digging into the table. Don't be cryptic with me. You're broke. You're nothing. You lost your job, your apartment, everything. Ethan's lips curved into the faintest smile. Did I? Or did you just never see what was already there? Amanda's breath caught. The certainty she carried began to wobble. She shook her head, forcing out a laugh. You're bluffing. You're trying to scare me because I chose Daniel. Ethan finally set down his spoon, his voice steady. You didn't choose Daniel. You chose what you thought he represented. And that will be your undoing. For a moment, Amanda couldn't breathe. His words clung to her chest like ice. You think you're so clever, she snapped. But I've moved on. Daniel owns this building, not you. You can't touch us. Ethan tilted his head slightly, his gaze unreadable. Are you sure about that? Amanda blinked. The weight in his tone felt heavier than any proof he could have shown. She snatched her purse, stood abruptly, and stormed out into the night. Back at the condo, Amanda slipped into bed beside Daniel, but her heart refused to settle. She stared at the ceiling, Ethan's words echoing in her mind. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Another text from a neighbor. Something strange is happening. Papers posted in the lobby. New signatures. Did Daniel sell the building? Amanda's throat tightened. She deleted the message before Daniel stirred awake. But when she closed her eyes, she dreamed again of Ethan, standing in the hallway of the old apartment, a ring of keys glinting in his hand. The next morning, Amanda rushed downstairs, determined to see what the neighbor had mentioned. On the bulletin board in the lobby, taped beneath the maintenance requests, was a fresh notice. Effective immediately, management rights transferred. All tenant concerns to be directed to Reed Holdings LLC. Amanda's blood ran cold. Amanda's eyes locked on the notice in the lobby. Effective immediately, management rights transferred. All tenant concerns to be directed to Reed Holdings LLC. Her heart pounded. Reed. Ethan's last name. Before she could think further, Daniel strode into the lobby, his smile wide but his eyes frantic. He yanked the notice from the board and crumpled it in his fist. Nothing to see here, folks, he said, laughing nervously. Just a clerical error. Some paperwork mix-up. You all know I'm still in charge. But whispers spread quickly among the tenants who had gathered. Mrs. Henderson raised her hand timidly. Then why did the city inspector mention Mr. Reed yesterday? He said Ethan signed off on the repairs. Amanda's stomach dropped. Daniel's jaw clenched. Don't listen to gossip, he snapped, tossing the crumpled notice into the trash. I'll handle it. He grabbed Amanda's arm and pulled her toward the elevator. His grip was tighter than usual, almost desperate. Upstairs in the condo, Amanda finally tore her arm free. Daniel, what is going on? Why is Ethan's name on that notice? Why are the tenants saying he's signing papers? Daniel loosened his tie, pacing. His composure was cracking. Ethan's playing games. He's trying to embarrass me to make me look weak. That's all this is. Amanda folded her arms, her voice low and sharp. Then why does he look stronger than ever while you're the one panicking? Daniel's face twisted with anger. For the first time, Amanda saw not the confident provider she imagined, but a man clinging to an illusion. Meanwhile, Ethan stood across the street, watching the condo windows from the sidewalk. His lawyer beside him handed over another document. By tomorrow, Daniel will have no authority left. Every tenant notice will carry your name. The board has already approved it. Ethan nodded, his eyes fixed on the glowing window where Amanda's silhouette paced back and forth. Let her see it unfold, he said quietly. The truth is sharper when it cuts slowly. That evening, Amanda attended another dinner with Daniel at a trendy restaurant. She wore pearls he gifted her, but she couldn't shake the voices of the tenants. She kept hearing Ethan's calm tone. Are you sure about that? Halfway through the meal, a group of tenants at a nearby table whispered loudly enough for Amanda to hear. Ethan Reed. He's the new owner. Papers already filed. Daniel was just a manager all along. Amanda's hand trembled on her wine glass. She turned to Daniel, but he was red-faced, pretending not to hear. Amanda excused herself to the restroom. On the way, she spotted Ethan seated in the corner of the restaurant with his lawyer again, quietly signing another set of documents. He didn't look up. He didn't need to. Amanda froze, realization creeping in. Amanda barely touched her food that night. The laughter, the music, the clinking of silverware, all of it blurred around her. Her mind was stuck on one thing. Ethan calmly signing papers while Daniel avoided every question. Back in the condo, Amanda slammed her purse onto the counter. Daniel, enough lies. Do you own this building or not? Daniel's jaw twitched. He poured himself a drink, gulping it down in one swallow before answering. Of course I do. Who else would? Ethan? He's a nobody. Always has been. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Then why are the notices signed Reed Holdings? Why are the tenants saying his name? Daniel slammed the glass onto the counter so hard it cracked. His voice rose, desperate. Because he's trying to take what's mine. Don't you get it? He's manipulating everyone. But I won't let him win. Amanda flinched at his tone. The man she thought was steady and powerful suddenly looked unstable, sweat at his temples, hands trembling as he poured another drink. For the first time, Amanda wondered if she had leapt into something far more fragile than the life she left behind. The next morning, Amanda walked through the lobby, pearls around her neck and a practiced smile on her face. But the whispers of the tenants followed her. Did you hear? Ethan Reed is taking over. Daniel was never the real owner. I knew that boy had more to him than people thought. Her smile cracked. She hurried out the door. Across the street, Ethan leaned against a black sedan, speaking quietly with his lawyer. The tenants waved to him as they passed, respectful, deferential. Amanda froze when she saw Mrs. Henderson hand Ethan a basket of cookies, whispering, "Thank you, Mr. Reed. We finally feel safe." Ethan gave her a warm smile, a kind nod. Then his eyes lifted and caught Amanda's across the street. She stopped breathing. For the first time she saw no bitterness in him, no desperation, only quiet authority. Amanda turned quickly, pretending not to notice, but her legs shook as she climbed into a waiting cab. That night, Daniel returned home furious. Papers lay scattered on the counter, eviction notices with Ethan's name stamped across the top. Amanda picked one up, her hands trembling. "Daniel, this says all tenant matters must go through Reed Holdings effective immediately. That means Ethan." Daniel ripped the paper from her hands, shouting, "I told you it's a mistake. He's bluffing." Amanda stepped back, her voice barely a whisper. "Then why does it feel like he's the only one telling the truth?" The next morning, a formal letter slid under every tenant's door. Amanda picked up hers, her blood running cold as she read the bold header. Notice of ownership, Ethan Reed, sole proprietor. Her glass of wine slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The building lobby buzzed with anxious tenants the following afternoon. Notices were clutched in every hand, neighbors whispering, children peering from behind parents' legs. Amanda stood beside Daniel, her chin raised high but her heart pounding. The pearl necklace suddenly felt like a noose around her throat. The elevator dinged. Ethan stepped out, his lawyer at his side, a folder of documents in hand. He didn't glance at Amanda or Daniel. His eyes went straight to the crowd. "Good afternoon," Ethan said calmly, his voice carrying with quiet authority. "I know many of you have questions. Allow me to clarify." He opened the folder, showing official seals, notarized signatures. "As of this week, Reed Holdings LLC has assumed full management and ownership of this property. All tenant concerns will now come directly through me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Henderson pressed a hand to her chest. A young father muttered, "So it's true. Ethan owns the building." Amanda's throat closed. Daniel, red-faced, stepped forward, trying to laugh it off. "Don't believe him. He's lying. I've been your landlord for years. Why would that change now?" Ethan turned his gaze on Daniel, steady and unshaken. "Because you were never the owner, Daniel. You were a manager. A name on a lease. Nothing more." He handed Daniel an envelope. Daniel tore it open, his hands trembling. The color drained from his face as he read the words. "Effective immediately, your management rights are revoked. You are no longer authorized to act on behalf of Reed Holdings." The tenants erupted, some in relief, some in outrage at Daniel's deception. Mrs. Henderson shouted, "All those times you ignored us, you were never even in charge?" Daniel stammered, desperate. It's a mistake. He can't do this." But Ethan's lawyer stepped forward, firm and professional. "It's all legal, Mr. Brooks. The board has approved. Your role here is finished." Amanda's vision blurred. She staggered back a step, her hand against the cool marble wall. She wanted to speak, to scream, to beg, but no words came. Her husband, the man she had mocked, abandoned, humiliated, was standing at the center of the lobby as the true owner of everything. Ethan finally turned his gaze on her. His voice was calm, but every word struck like thunder. "You left me for a man who never owned anything. The building you mocked me in has always been mine." Amanda's lip trembled. Tears stung her eyes, but pride forced her chin higher. "Ethan, I didn't know." Ethan shook his head. "That's the point. You never cared to know. You only saw what you wanted to see." The tenants began to cheer, some even clapping Ethan on the back. Daniel slunk toward the door, his shoulders hunched, his empire crumbling. Amanda stood frozen in the middle of the lobby, every eye on her. The lobby had emptied slowly, tenants dispersing in small groups, buzzing with the shock of what they had witnessed. Only three remained at the center: Ethan, calm and steady, Daniel, seething in silence, and Amanda, trembling in her silk blouse, the pearls around her neck heavy as chains. Daniel snapped first. He ripped the envelope in two, pieces fluttering to the floor like scraps of his pride. "You'll regret this, Ethan," he spat. Without me you're nothing. Ethan's lawyer stepped forward. On the contrary, Mr. Brooks. Without Ethan, you were nothing all along. Daniel's face twisted, but he saw the truth in every eye that glared back at him. Tenants he had ignored now turned their backs on him. Even Amanda wouldn't meet his gaze. He stormed out, the glass doors slamming behind him. The silence left behind was deafening. Amanda stepped forward, her voice breaking. Ethan, I was wrong. I didn't mean what I said. I thought you had nothing to give me. I thought Daniel was. Ethan raised a hand, stopping her. His eyes were steady, not cruel but resolute. You thought money was everything. That titles and suits and empty promises meant more than loyalty, more than love. You didn't just leave me, Amanda. You mocked me when I was at my lowest. And for that, there's no going back. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She reached for him, her voice desperate. Please, Ethan, you have everything now. We can start over. I'll be the wife you need, I promise. Ethan shook his head. Love tested in poverty is the only kind that survives wealth. You failed that test. Amanda collapsed against the marble wall, her sobs echoing in the cavernous lobby. Mrs. Henderson approached, placing a gentle hand on Ethan's arm. You're a good man, Mr. Reed. Don't let the wrong woman blind you. We need someone like you here. Ethan smiled softly, his resolve firm. The tenants will always come first. That's what my father taught me. He turned once more to Amanda, his final words cutting deeper than any shouted insult ever could. You left me for a man who never owned anything. Now you're left with nothing at all. With that, Ethan walked out of the lobby, the weight of his inheritance fully embraced. The doorman tipped his hat respectfully as the doors closed behind him. Amanda slumped to the floor, broken pearls scattering around her like the pieces of a crown she never truly wore. Outside, Ethan climbed into the black sedan, looking up at the towering building now glowing with lights. His building. The moral landed like thunder. Wealth means nothing without loyalty. And loyalty means nothing if it cannot survive hardship.